AI prompts in AI Builder now support grounding. Don't you worry, this doesn't mean that our AI prompts are in any trouble here. Grounding is a process of linking our AI to some kind of knowledge, and now we can link AI Builder prompts to Dataverse knowledge. So let's jump over to a demo and see how it works. We can get to AI prompts by either going to make.powerapps.com or make.powerautomate.com. To get to AI prompts, you'll go to your left navigation and go to the AI Hub. If you don't see AI Hub pinned on your left nav, you can click the More button, go to Discover All, and you can pin either the AI Hub, or if you just want to go directly to AI prompts, you can pin that to the toolbar as well. And now if you select AI prompts, this is where you'll go to see all the AI prompts that you created and to create new ones. And to create our new grounded prompt, we'll select this option here to create text with GPT using a prompt. Now let's give this prompt a name. We're going to erase all of this custom prompt text with the date and time and put a relevant name here. And for the prompt that I'm creating here, I'm going to have this help me extract information about a proposal. So I'll call this Proposal Helper. Now in this prompt window is where we'll put our prompt or our instructions to the AI, but if we want to ground it in data, we'll need to go over here to the right-hand side where we have our prompt settings. So here, not only can we define inputs, these are things that we pass into our prompt dynamically, but we also have this new section below for data used, which is currently in preview. So this is what allows us to ground our prompt in our Dataverse data. So if we select this Add Data button, now we'll get a pop-up where we can select the data source in Dataverse. So these are all the different Dataverse tables that we have in this environment. So I can search for one that I have. I know there's one for proposals, and then I can just select that proposal table. And when I select that table, we'll see an option here to select a filter attribute, and this is a drop-down. So what this is going to ask us is, what column in this table do you want to use to filter the results? We're going to leave this blank for now because we need to put in some inputs here, and I'm going to use an input as the filter for this table. And that will be used to tell it what item are we going to get from this table. So now that we have that, let's jump over to this input section and add an input where we can pass in the proposal name. So I just selected add an input, and for the name, we'll call this proposal name. And one of the things that you'll notice when we're adding inputs is we can put in sample data. So we can do real-time testing right here in Prompt Builder before we go and try to use this prompt in Power Apps or Power Automate to make sure that it is working correctly. So to do that, we need to put sample data in any of our inputs to test the prompt. So in the sample data section, I'll say sample proposal 1. And now we'll have some data to pass into this so that we can test the prompt once we're ready. Now that we have that input, let's go back to the data used where we can finish configuring our grounding. We'll select this filter attribute dropdown for the proposal table, and we'll select the name column from this table. And now for the filter value, we'll add a value and we'll use our proposal name input. So now we've grounded this prompt with the knowledge of that proposal table, but we've asked it to filter it to only return the item where the name equals the proposal name that we're passing in. And now that we have that grounded data, we can start building out our prompt. So in the prompt window, I'm going to put in some instructions to ask it to create a summary of the proposal. And then at this point is where I want to pass in my input. So this is going to be some dynamic data that we're going to get from the user running and executing this prompt. And to use my input, we'll select the Insert button. And this will give a list of all of the properties we have. So we'll select proposal name. And we'll finish crafting the prompt here. So I'm asking it to get a summary of this proposal that we're passing in. And I want to have this as a paragraph in less than 50 words. And at this point is where I'm going to start asking it to include some of that grounded data from Dataverse. So we'll have it include the following information in the summary. And to get that data from Dataverse, we'll go back to our Insert button and we'll select the Dataverse proposal table. So when we select that, we'll have another menu pop up, and this is going to show all the columns in that table. So I know I want the description, so I can select that object here. I can do a comma and just keep adding more data that I want it to pull from Dataverse. So I'll go back to Insert, we'll click Proposal, and maybe I want to get the related party. This happens to be a lookup column, so if I select that, that's going to go to another filter where it's going to show all the columns in that related table, and I'll choose the name property from this. I'll do a comma, we'll add some more data, so we'll go to Insert, Proposal again. This time I want to get some information from Issuer, which is also a lookup table, and we'll pull the name property from that. And then we'll finish out this by asking it to also include and we'll add Insert one more time, we'll go to Proposal, and we want to have the name of the proposal as the title of the summary. So this completes our prompt. We're getting in dynamic data via an input, and we're getting grounded data from Dataverse. Other things we can configure before we actually use this, if we look at the prompt settings again, is the output. And we can either output this as text or JSON. So for our uses, we just want to output this as text, so I'm going to leave that default setting there. And there's some other settings that we can look at. We can choose the model to use when generating responses. The default is GPT 3.5, but if you want to use GPT 4, we can do that by selecting that model. Just keep in mind GPT 4 is still in preview. And finally, finally, we can control the temperature of the prompt, so whether or not you want to allow more creative responses. So I'm just going to leave the temperature in this example at 0. And if everything looks good here, we can test our prompt inline to make sure that it's working as we expect. And now we see it's come back with the response. So for the title, as we asked it to, it's using the name of the proposal, and there is a very short summary getting all the key details that we need, like the issuer and the related parties and all of that, pulled from Dataverse. So now we can save this custom prompt, and we can actually use this either in a flow or in a Power App. So let's just look really quickly at how we can use this in a flow. So since we're already here in Power Automate, we'll just go over here to the Create tab. And for simplicity's sake, we'll do an instant cloud flow, and we'll just manually kick this off. So I'll call this Proposal Flow Test, and we'll click Create. Now we'll need to be able to pass in the proposal name that's expected as an input. So in our manual trigger, we'll click on that and we'll add an input here. So we'll add a simple text input and we'll call this proposal name. And now to call this prompt, we'll select the plus button below our trigger and have it add an action. Then we'll select AI Builder and the create text with GPT using a prompt. This will give us a drop down of all of the prompts that we have in this environment. So if I click on that, it should sort it from the most recently created ones. So we see our proposal helper one right up at the top, which makes it easy to find. And then now once you select your prompt, it's going to put in any required inputs below for you to fill out. So we have our proposal name. I can click into that and we can use dynamic content to pull that from our trigger. So I'll select this lightning bolt icon and we'll look through all of these properties and I'll select the proposal name property. And now just to see what it comes up with, we'll add one more action below here and we'll do a compose. And for the input of the compose, we'll use our dynamic content again and we'll get the text from that create text with GPT action. Of course, we could do a lot more with this. We can make it as part of an automated process if we wanted to. We can have it go send an email, send a Teams message, whatever we want to do. But this is just showing you how easy it is to actually tie all the pieces together and go and execute your prompt from a workflow. So I'll give this a save and then we will test this out. Now when I save, you'll see we do have a warning pop up. This is a responsible AI practice. Anytime that you're using AI generated text in a flow, it's going to want you to have some kind of human in the loop process to review that generated content. So it's suggesting here that we put in an approval process to be able to review the content. So that is best practice to do. For simplicity's sake, for testing, I'm going to leave that off for now and we will test this out. So we'll test it manually and now it's going to ask for that proposal name. So we'll say proposal name 1 and we'll run this flow. And we can see that it's run here. And if we look at the compose, there is the output just like we saw when we did the test with the proposal name and the issuer and all of that. And that is how easy it is to ground your AI prompts in your Dataverse data. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please click that subscribe button to support the channel. See you next time. And if you want to learn more about AI in the Power Platform, check out some of these other videos.